Wings of Fire 7 Thrones is a Roblox game based on Wings of Fire the books. It has both a PvP version and an RP version and was created by some well-known Wings of Fire YouTubers. While the game is mostly known as a PvP and quest game, it has a boatload of lore to it and possibly a cult. More on that later. Today I'm going to be talking about the lore of Wings of Fire 7 Thrones and some of my theories about it. Quick disclaimer, if you do not want any spoilers for any quests or any of the 7 Thrones lore, please go watch one of my other videos because I'm going to be going into quite a few spoilers today. Anyways, let's get started. To get started, let me talk about some of the lore basics for any of you who don't play 7 Thrones. 7 Thrones takes place between Darkstalker getting trapped in the mountain and the Dragonets of Destiny existing. Pyrea has a different shape than normal, Sea Wings can spit out water, and there's a couple other non-canon things here, but we won't be focusing on that in this video. The way the kingdoms interact with each other during this time period seems to be that the Night Wings and Ice Wings don't get along, as usual. The Rain Wings are considered to be a very powerful tribe, the Night Wings live on their island, and there's a mysterious sword called Falcons Claw that a lot of different people seem to be after. So I won't go too in-depth with this because Falcons Claw has a lot of lore to it, so I'll just make another video on that at some point. Long story short, Falcons Claw is this sword that was made by an Ice Wing named Peregrine. You can find the sword by going through a quest where you find and translate a bunch of scrolls hidden in various spots around the map, and then the scrolls basically give you the key to actually get the sword. Once you translate all the scrolls, you find out about how Falcons Claw came to be, and the original owner, Peregrine. So, I'm not going to translate this entire brick of text on your screen, but here's like the Cliff Notes version of it. Peregrine was an underdog from the 7th Circle who got drafted into the army because the Ice Wings and Night Wings went to war, and then she became the admiral of the army because she was super cool. In order to make Falcons Claw, she, and I quote, had each of her 1,000 soldiers contribute a drop of blood and a scale, unquote. I'm not gonna lie, that's kinda creepy, but whatever, we'll move past it. Anyways, this sword was really strong. But apparently after a battle gone wrong where the Ice Wings got ambushed, Peregrine died, not before, and I quote, in a final act of freedom, Peregrine destroyed the Night Wings and took them all to her grave, unquote. And then the sword went missing. I'm not sure why or how the Night Wings popped back up again. I'm assuming this is only referring to soldiers, but point is, a lot of Night Wings died, Peregrine died, and a lot of Ice Wing soldiers probably died too. So the entire battle kinda sucked. Once you go through the whole quest, you learn that the sword was actually taken to Queen Laraman, and she hid it for a quote, worthy warrior, unquote, to take it. What's odd is the reason Peregrine's army was ambushed was because of Queen Laraman. She made an alliance with the Night Wings and then sent her army to this place called Blackstone where the battle occurred, Peregrine died, etc. I will probably end up making a separate video that goes over Falcons Claw's story in depth, but for now this is all you really need to know for this video. In 7 Thrones, there are currently 4 camps around the map, 3 of which are access points to a place called the Black Market, where players can buy incredibly strong items. These camps are in the Ice, Sky, and Rain kingdoms. We're gonna take a look at each camp and the Black Market, and then I'll give you guys some of my theories. So the Ice Kingdom camp is hidden away behind some really tall mountains. It has 3 wooden houses with hay roofs and a bunch of fish hanging outside on strings. In one house, there is a fire pit, an image of a Rain Wing, and some writing about how to start the Falcons Claw quest. The second house is a little blacksmith room with some swords and a mini oven. The third and final house is full of barrels, a chest with a dragon's tooth, and a false wall that leads to the Black Market. The Northern Sky Camp, like the Ice Camp, is hidden away behind some really tall mountains and has a bunch of fish. It has a giant open wooden structure and a bunch of crates lying around in the open. The entrance to the Black Market here is through a little hole in the ground. A closer look reveals that the camp has some poison ivy bottles, a map, and an odd symbol with a skywing that has a little bone under their neck. Let me translate some stuff real quick. The poison bottle here reads, poison ivy juices, extreme danger. Ingestion only in small quantities in case of severe burns. Looking at the map has the Ice Wing Kingdom's label completely crossed out and replaced with the caption, Kite's Territory. Then the Mud and Rain Wing Kingdoms are lined out with the caption, Trouble. And finally, the Sandwing catacombs have a circle on them with the label, "Treasures if you survive." Something that should be noted, none of the actual translations have the letter E for some reason. I'm not sure if this was intentional or a genuine mistake, but I figured I would just say it for now. The Southern Sky Kingdom doesn't have all that much in it. It's got a fancy wooden fence guarding it and some wooden huts. Some more notable features in it are the fact that they have a decent supply of poison in bottles and boxes, and that this is the only camp with no access to the black market. That's about it. This camp's kinda boring. Oh well. The Rainforest Camp is my personal favorite because it just looks pretty and stuff to me. It has a couple tents, a lot of poison in the boxes, a little fancy circle thing that looks like someone could sit on and make announcements from, and a bunch of brown bottles. I'm not sure what these are for. Couldn't possibly know why there are a bunch of empty brown bottles just lying on the ground. Of course, I'm referring to soda. I don't know what else you would think I'm talking about. Anyways, the entrance to the black market in this camp is pretty much the same as the Northern Sky Camp, just a hole in the ground. Alright, so here is the infamous black market that 3 of these camps have access to. It's basically the regular market, but black and spoopy. All the dragons in here have the color black on them somewhere, which is important for one of my theories, and the market itself has volcanic rock in the fountain, and what I assume is dirt for the walls, ceiling, and floors. In the black market, you can buy some pretty powerful weapons, some poison items, and a second life. Alright, now that we have all that down, let's talk theories. So, my first theory about these camps is that the Nightwings are living in them, and are using them to try and gain territory. At the time that Seven Thrones lore takes place, the Nightwings are living on their really horrible island. They don't want to live on the island, and so they're trying to find other places to live in the kingdoms. I think that these camps are areas for them to try and take territory from other tribes, or even to do a full-out takeover of multiple kingdoms. The Nightwings living at the camps would explain all the fish, because closer to Darkstalker's time, Nightwings would regularly eat cooked fish. They could easily be doing this at their camps, seeing as all of them are relatively close to a water source. We could also see that there's tools they might have used to cook the fish, like these little tripod things with the pans. The other thing at the camps that could potentially be tied to the Nightwings would be the poison ivy juices, which are supposed to be used for treating burns. Nightwings aren't used to being out in the sunlight due to being nocturnal, so it makes sense for them to need to treat sunburns. Also, before I get any confused comments, yes, it is possible for animals with scales like lizards and crocodiles to get sunburns. There's a note about Falcons Claw in the Icewing camp, which could point to the Nightwings possibly trying to find Falcons Claw and claim it for their own. That way then, they could take revenge on the Icewings and take over the Icewing territory, which would explain the little note that says, Kite's territory on the Icewing Kingdom. Another thing that might point to the Nightwings living in these camps is the black market. The black market has volcanic rock in it, which would make sense since the Nightwings Island has volcanoes on it. Another factor that points to the black market being owned by the Nightwings would be the vendors. The reason I brought up the fact that they all have the color black on them somewhere is because this could mean they're all Nightwing hybrids of some sort. Look at them, even the Mudwing and Icewing have small black patches on them. Another thing that ties the black market and the Nightwings together is the secrecy of the place. The bracelet that you need to get in there has the description that reads, quote, "Those who bear this bracelet are eligible to enter a place few speak of above the surface," unquote. After being stranded on the island, the Nightwings became very secretive. They wanted to seem mysterious and powerful to other tribes, so they kept the fact that they were actually really weak a secret. Keeping their black market, the one place where they seem to have powerful weapons, a secret would make sense for them. One of the things that makes this theory a little odd is the fact that the Nightwings have a camp in the rainforest, and yet they mark the rainforest and Rainwings as trouble. There's a chance that maybe the Rainwings and Mudwings have been interfering with the Nightwings' invasion plans? But there's no evidence pointing to it just yet. Also, this does not answer who Kite is completely, especially considering that this isn't really a Nightwing name, and most of the other lore NPCs, besides the ones present in game, usually have their name closer to canon-type names. This theory is based off the odd Skywing picture at the Northern Sky Camp. it isn't the only place on the map with that image on it. If you look at the old Skywing Kingdom ruins by the top wingtip on the map, we can see that the image is also present there, with the same little Skywing statue that is present in the current Skywing Kingdom. Also, before we get started, I just want to say this theory is a little less based on facts and more on my wild imagination, so just stick with me here and listen to this as I come up with a crazy random story. Please don't attack me if this is wrong. In this theory, I think that Kite is a Skywing who was either some sort of royal or higher up in the old Skywing Palace. Eventually, Kite and maybe some of the other royals were overthrown and replaced by a new monarchy. This could have been for several reasons, like deception, corruption, maybe some tyranny, whatever. Point is, the old royals were overthrown. Kite was thrown in jail along with a few other dragons near where this new Skywing Palace was being built. At some point, Kite managed to escape by digging a hole out of the prison into a nearby lake. This is pointed to by the fact that there's 2 different holes through the prisons, where if you go underwater, there's 2 different areas, like the one river by the Skywing Palace and then this one little lake a little ways away from the Skywing Palace. If you go underground in either of those, you find a little hole, leads to one of the prisons, and then you get a sword in there. So with this theory, the idea is that Kite got out of prison, and then they were like, you know what, I'm gonna take my revenge, I'm gonna get back my kingdom. And then they start a rebellion and start a bunch of camps up in the Skywing Kingdom to help with the rebellion. So again, this theory was mostly just my imagination running wild, and it's probably not true, especially because why would the Skywings want the Icewing territory? Skywings have like some cold resistance, but there's no other reason for them to really want to take over. It is mentioned in this one scroll in this like little room that's hidden away that the Icewing Palace defenses were weakened at some point. So like, I don't know, maybe Kite does want the Icewing Kingdom for some reason, who knows. This, again, my imagination's just running wild here. But this a little imaginative idea is how I got to theory 3. Alright, so this theory is a combination of theories 1 and 2. This theory assumes that the Nightwings are helping the Skywing Rebels and vice versa. The Nightwings need some land to make their new kingdom, and the Skywing Rebels want to take back the old monarchy. Kite in this theory would probably be a Nightwing or a Nightwing-Skywing hybrid, so it might be the person in the picture, it might not be. And this dragon Kite is either an admiral or maybe the queen for the Nightwings, and is looking to take over the Icewing Kingdom as vengeance for what happened during the ambush fight mentioned in the Falcons Claw quest. In this theory, the Skywing Rebels would still be led by some sort of prisoner who escaped from the prisons and is looking to restore the old Skywing monarchy along with a few others. In this theory, I would say that maybe the Nightwings were going to try and take over the rainforest and the mud swamps at first with the help of the Skywing Rebels. However, after a few battles gone wrong, they gave up and labeled the Mud and Rainwings as trouble. This would also explain why, spoilers, the Nightwing Pure Stone is hidden in the rainforest. There's a chance that the Nightwings were preparing to move into the rainforest, so they hid their Pure Stone there before losing the battle and then also losing their Pure Stone, which is now hidden somewhere in the rainforest. Good luck finding that. So, looking back at the theories, I would say that the Nightwing theory is probably the most likely one because it has the most evidence backing it up, but there are of course still some holes left in the theories. That's why they're theories and not facts. Some things that I couldn't figure out. I'm not sure why there's just an image of a Rainwing next to the Falcons Claw information. It might be just a red herring for the quest because it does mention a tomb under the trees. I kind of thought it was a clue when I started the quest, and I'm not gonna lie, I looked under every single tree in the rainforest and didn't find crap. Just so you all know, the tomb under the trees is not in the rainforest. Don't go to the rainforest, look under some other trees. So, that's all I really have to say about the camps. Let me know if you guys have any other theories or ideas in the comments.
And please watch part 2 when it comes out.